none of that's changed for me personally.
Bangs! I got bangs!
Congrats.
I'm just kidding. I'm being completely insufferable. Yeah, I got bangs. I also got a new tattoo. It's this little guy right here. I love him. He's just a little guy. Anyway, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel, whichever one. Today's video, I am going to be doing my first solo book review. I'm very excited. Like I said in my last video, this book review is going to be of the book The List of Things by Emma Miller. I'm doing a solo book review on this because this is Emma's debut novel and I love her. And it was honestly a really great book, and I just want to give her her moment to shine, and I want to make sure that everyone goes and reads this book. I'm not planning on putting too many spoilers in this, so that if you do watch this and you want to go read this book, by all means, please do. This book is on Amazon. It is also at some Barnes & Noble. I've been seeing on Emma's Instagram and stuff, her going around to like different stores in Georgia, because she lives in Georgia, just like me, and like signing some things, and they do have the book in stock. If you do want to go and buy a physical book from your local Barnes & Noble, just call them and see if they have it. If you're in North Georgia, I'm pretty sure that a lot of those Barnes & Nobles have them, and if you go and you get it at Barnes & Noble, you might get a signed copy, and that's so cute. So I think you should go and look for them. So I'm just going to be reviewing this book today. I don't think this video is going to be super long, so it's good for you, viewer. You don't have to sit here for like 40 minutes like all of my other videos and just listen to me ramble about things. So let's get into the book, the review. My rating for this book that I gave it was a 4 out of 5 stars. I think my true rating is probably a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's a really good book. It is amazing for a debut novel. Not that any debut novels are bad, but it's really good. I liked it. The basic plot for this book is that the two main characters are Cameron Hart and Bellamy Archer. Bellamy is the star quarterback at Seattle Pike University, and Cameron is a physical education major or anatomy or something like that. She wants to be like a trainer for like football teams and like sports teams. I know that because that's like a huge plot point in the book. So whatever that is, I'll double check what her major is and I'll correct myself, but still. So Cameron is Bellamy's tutor throughout the beginning of the book. And then one day when Cameron is watching a rom-com with her best friend, Sienna, like they always do, because Cameron loves rom-coms. She loves anything that has to do with romance within media, but not within her actual life. She decides to make a list of things that only happen in rom-coms and would never happen in real life. Later on in the book, during Bellamy and Cameron's last study session before their math final, Bellamy finds the list and he decides that he wants to prove Cameron wrong, that those things can actually happen in real life and that they should complete the list that she has made. Antics ensue, obviously, and it's just a really fun book. It's very cute. The dynamic between Bellamy and Cameron is wholesome. There seems to be a lot of trust and just natural attraction between them. And I think that it's very sweet and it's very endearing to see somewhat of like a friends to lovers relationship. They're not like really good friends, but obviously they're just acquaintances and then they become better friends throughout the book. Just some basic things that I did actually quite enjoy about this book is Emma included a playlist at the beginning of the book, which I will insert the pictures of the playlist right here. And at the beginning of each chapter, there was a song that went with the chapter. Emma also wrote at the beginning of the book that music plays a huge part in this book. Each of the songs that correspond with each chapter are intentional. So she recommends that you listen to those songs while you're reading the chapter or afterwards. And I did do that, and it honestly kind of like enhanced the reading experience. As someone who enjoys kind of making playlists and or associating songs with book characters after I read the book, I think that it was very cute that she included just a playlist for it. And it is on Spotify, and I will link it down below, the playlist that she created for this book. And the playlist, it's a banger. It's got some bangers in there. I'm a little impartial to it because me and Emma do have very, very, very similar music tastes. Also, it had Satellite by Harry Styles in there. So already it's batting 1,000. So some of the basic tropes that were in this book is it's a grumpy ex-sunshine book. In the book, the two characters are self-describe them as a golden retriever and black cat relationship. So that's cute. One thing about me is I love when the male main character in a book is a lovesick, somewhat of like a simp boy. I love it so much. I love when a guy will put his ego aside and do literally anything for his woman and just kind of fall at her feet. And that is what Bellamy Archer does. He is that type of man, and I love it so much. It's very Emily Henry male main character energy. I feel like a lot of Emily Henry's male characters are like very lovesick and very, very like deeply in love with their girls. And I love that type of man in books. I love it so much. Just my basic opinions on the characters. For Cameron, I really liked her. I think most of the characters were kind of just like a breath of fresh air, especially in the contemporary romance genre. I liked that Cameron was a very like sex positive, non-committal type of girl, which those types of characteristics you normally attribute to the man in a romance book. He has relations with multiple people. He's non-committal. He's very scared of commitment. So I did like that she attributed that to the female main character. That was refreshing. Additionally, this is something that me and Lily have talked about recently, like very recently, I think literally like 30 minutes ago, is I feel like it's very common in romance books for the female to be described as small and like significantly smaller than the male in the book. And I liked that Cameron honestly she wasn't described as anything like super specific. I mean, obviously like there were descriptors in there, but she just kind of seemed like a normal girl. She's very normal size. For Bellamy, I think that Cameron kind of had the characteristics of what you would attribute to the male in any romance book. Bellamy had a lot of the characteristics that you would attribute to the female of most romance books. He's a serial monogamist. He loves love. He is a romance boy at heart. His favorite movie is The Notebook, if that tells you anything. So I very much liked that he was, for lack of a better term, a sensitive guy. The other two major minor characters, I want to say, would be Bellamy and Cameron's two best friends, which Cameron's best friend, her name is Sienna. There wasn't really a whole bunch of information about her because she was kind of off doing her own thing during the span of the book. And same with Bellamy's best friend, Lawson. They were both kind of off doing their own thing, but they come in every once in a while and interact with Bellamy and Cameron. Like Sienna was the one who convinced Cameron to complete the list with Bellamy, and she was just the best friend. So I liked her, and she was very sweet, and I think that she's going to be a good character for the next book because that's why both her, Sienna and Lawson, were not like didn't have a whole bunch of scenes in this book, is because they're the two main characters of the second book. So you can't really give a lot away if they're going to be the two main characters in the second book. So I'm very excited for that with what I've seen of Sienna and Lawson. And just my basic thoughts about this book is one thing that I kept thinking throughout the book, just while I was reading it, was that it gives me very much like The Deal and Icebreaker vibes. I feel Bellamy is kind of like the perfect mixture between Garrett Graham and Nate Hawkins. And I love both of them. So I love Bellamy. Some things that it's not that they were things that I didn't like. These are just things that me personally, I was like, this just kind of seems like a little unrealistic, I guess. It's not that it didn't affect the story in any way. I was just like, okay. So when Bellamy made the proposition of them finishing or crossing off all of the things on Cameron's list, he proposed it as fake dating, which I don't think is an issue or anything like that. It's just they constantly kept reminding each other that it was a fake relationship. But the only thing that made it fake was the fact that they kept saying that it was. Like there were no stakes. There wasn't like, we need to pretend to date because my mom is on me about getting married soon or having children soon or something like that. Or like it was something with like an image thing or anything like that. It wasn't anything with like normal fake dating stuff. It was genuinely just Cameron honestly convincing herself that they actually weren't dating. And to a certain extent, I understand why they kind of made it like a fake dating thing. And that was like a huge factor with them. And like that was super important. And it's because Cameron, like I said, she wants to be a trainer for sports teams. So there is a position that she's like gunning for throughout this entire book, which is like the assistant trainer on the Seattle Pike football team. And like I said, Bellamy plays on the football team. So she is kind of hesitant to do this because she doesn't want to spend all of this time with Bellamy and start developing feelings for him and then it not work out. And then it's awkward when she does like potentially become the assistant trainer, which again, I understand, but she mentions briefly at the beginning of the book that she's hooked up with other people on sports teams that she's worked with or like seen after the fact. And it hasn't been weird. So it's just, I found myself constantly like wondering what's different about Bellamy as opposed to the other people that she's like had relations with, which I guess you could say is simply because she actually does have feelings for Bellamy, and like the other guys, she didn't have any like emotional stakes in it. It was purely just a physical relationship, which I get. It's just that's something that I found myself kind of being like, okay. Didn't affect the story in any way for me personally. But also another thing that I noticed that this was something that kept being said. And that is that towards the beginning of the book, when Sienna was convincing Cameron to do this like list thing, she mentioned that there's this thing about quarterback hands and how they're like really big and like very muscular and things like that. I don't know how a hand can be muscular, but that's what I'm remembering. Anyway, so after that, then Cameron notices Bellamy's hands. So like all throughout the book, she just keeps mentioning his quarterback hands. She just keeps saying, and his strong quarterback hands and things like that. And just found myself cracking up at it every time that it was mentioned. It's like when people make fun of like SJM for constantly saying like the word mate or growled or something like that. Like it's just one of those like overused string of words throughout a book. And it just cracked me up every time because I was like, does this girly have a hand fetish? What is going on? Additionally, one thing that I found really cute in this book, along with the playlist that she has at the beginning of this book, I liked all of the movie references throughout the book. Like I know Emma specifically has talked about some of them. And there is like a reference to a Gilmore Girls episode. There is a specific scene that is a very heavy reference to the movie 27 Dresses. And honestly, one of my favorite scenes in 27 Dresses. That was really cool to read. I like when books, especially contemporary romances, kind of like allude back to just pieces of media that is kind of universally agreed upon to be like a cultural moment. So that's really fun. And it's fun. It was fun, like picking out all of the like references. Yeah, it was a very cute book and I liked it a lot. I'm very excited for the books to follow. I know that Emma I think she said recently that she finished book 3, which is amazing to me because obviously I know that authors, they work on books in advance. So like if an author is promoting the book that just came out, there is like a 95% chance that they're already working on their next book to come out. But I think one of the reasons why it amazes me is because I follow Emma on Instagram. And not only is she writing multiple books very fast, I might add, she's also reading at the same time, and she has a social life. So like the fact that she can just do all of it, that's crazy. Like I feel like she writes so unbelievably fast. And I think it's the fan fiction writer in her, because I swear fan fiction writers, they can crank out an entire story within like a week. Like I remember I saw someone who said that they wrote an entire like 100,000 word fan fiction within like 3 days. And I was like, how did you do that? I could never. I can barely do this in a week. So that's just crazy. But yeah, I highly recommend this to anyone who really likes contemporary romances, especially if you're looking to get into like a series right at the beginning of it and kind of like be able to say that like you started reading it when it first was coming out before it gets really popular. Get on this. I love this book. It was super cute. It was very good to read in between a lot of heavy books. I think that if you liked Icebreaker, you will like this book. They are very similar in vibes. I think that is pretty much it for this video. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't want to put a whole bunch of spoilers in this video about this book because I want people to read it and I want people to go support my girly Emma. If you decide to read this book, please let me know. If you've already read this book, let me know your thoughts. We will have a discussion either down below in the comments or on my Instagram or anything like that. I would love to talk to someone about this because I think this book is great. Make sure to go follow Emma on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. I think she also has a bookstagram. So if you want to follow her bookstagram, by all means, please do. Go support an indie author because it is becoming increasingly harder to be an indie author in this day and age. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you do decide to read this, you enjoy the book. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment down below, anything, whatever you want. Follow me on all my other socials, Instagram, TikTok, Goodreads, anything like that. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And thanks for watching. Bye.
Get some in now, cut your edge out.